Well, the January 6th committee is set to hold its 8th hearing next week and is reportedly weighing whether to seek testimony from former President Trump and then Vice President Mike Pence.
You know, this has been, you've been following this very closely, and it's now looks like it's going to stretch, coincidentally, right up to the election. Right? Interesting how that works. But it doesn't look like it's actually impacting the election, which it does seem that was part of the intention here.
Right. You're right, Tom. And I think, you know, when we think about it, what do Americans vote on? They vote on their personal finances, their personal safety and security. And this is something that is so much just out there when people are just feeling the pain at home. Even just summer vacations, going to the gas station. I think that's what really is on Americans' minds.
Absolutely. Folks are not really focused on Washington right now. They're focused on their own needs. And you have 9.1% inflation. I don't care what the Democrats talk about.
Right.
That's very hard. Whether it would be Democrats or Republicans, that's very hard to sort of counter as a message.
Yeah, you're right.
Joining us now to discuss some of the accusations of potential witness tampering that we are seeing out of the January 6th committee is the Counsel for the National Legal and Policy Center, Paul Kamenar. Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
So in this latest January 6th hearing, during her closing remarks, Congresswoman Liz Cheney said, quote, the panel had learned that former President Donald Trump had recently tried to contact a witness whom, quote, we may not have yet have seen in these hearings. So essentially accusing Trump of witness tampering. So let's break this down for our audience, okay? What constitutes witness tampering in the first place? And how does that compare with what the former president may have actually done here?
Well, witness tampering, there's a provision in the criminal code, 18 U.S.C. 1505, that says whoever, and it has a list of things you can't do to a witness: kill them, injure them, harass them, etc. And it goes down the line. And then it does cover attempting to corruptly influence their testimony. Now, everybody has their hair on fire saying, well, this witness may have been contacted by Donald Trump. There's no evidence that it was from him or that he left a voicemail or whatever. But Liz Cheney didn't tell us whether this witness already testified. If the witness already testified, it's not witness tampering to call up a witness and say, hey, how did it go? How you doing? Et cetera, because that's after the fact. And then if the witness hasn't testified yet, how is it known that that witness is going to testify? If they issue a subpoena for the witness, that's kept secret unless the witness releases it or the committee may have leaked it. But I like to amazingly support the comment from Chuck Rosenberg, former U.S. attorney, MSNBC contributor, MSNBC legal contributor, and an anti-Trumper. And he said just this morning, quote, we should not leap to the conclusion that the phone call was witness tampering. And the conjecture is a bad idea. I agree with Chuck Rosenberg. So this is a distraction. You're all right. It's distracting from not only what's the real ills of our country, but more importantly, the House resolution says that they're to do two things: investigate the causes and provide legislative remedies so this doesn't happen again. Whenever you have the hearings about the lack of security of the Capitol building before January 6th, there are 5 paragraphs in the House resolution that says we've got to investigate the coordination between the D.C. police, the Capitol Police, the FBI, et cetera, et cetera. All, you know, we haven't had those hearings yet because Liz Cheney and Pelosi and the Democrats were basically, and Mayor Bowser of D.C. that was their job to make sure the Capitol is not secure. So what are the legislative solutions to preventing this from happening again? One, establish a Ministry of Truth so that social media is censored. So things that
tried that didn't work out.
Yeah, that's called the First Amendment.
Right.
And the other thing they can do legislate is, well, let's have better coordination between law enforcement agencies. Let's appropriate more money. So this doesn't happen again. They did a good job the other day protecting the Supreme Court, after Roe v. Wade when barriers went up, and they knew that was coming. There was a lot of traffic and intel before January 6th that we've heard about, where they knew ahead of time there could be trouble, and the security was appalling. So now they're just attempting to focus away from their dereliction of duty and trying to basically be a adjunct of the Department of Justice, which is not their role.
Right. And now, Paul, you mentioned, the phrase jumping to conclusions. It seems we're seeing a lot of that throughout these hearings. We're also hearing from Liz Cheney that for multiple occasions, she has been discussing and talking to the DOJ, the Department of Justice. What are the potential implications of that?
Well, they can refer matters to the Department of Justice, but it's up to the Justice Department to decide whether it makes out a case for any kind of criminal prosecution. Like I said, Liz Cheney thinks she's a junior prosecutor here and carrying the water for the Department of Justice. And so it's kind of disturbing that you see this legislative committee being an enforcement committee, which they're not supposed to do. And there are court cases pending right now. Mark Meadows has a case where he's been asked to testify, and he's saying, no, this committee is unconstitutional. It's not properly constituted. It's acting as an enforcement committee, not a legislative committee. And that issue is before the Court of Appeals here in the District of Columbia. And so, we're going to see more legal ramifications of this. So it's not over yet, and it may be over come the elections, as you all indicated, mid-September, when the Republicans take the House and shut down this committee that's just basically a distraction from their own failings.
Okay, well, Paul Kamenar, as you said, we will continue to follow this. It's not over yet. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.